Knotty Alder is admired for its rustic charm and tight, sound knots throughout. The subtle straight grain pattern is so versatile, it can be used for a craftsman aesthetic or for ranch-style homes. Every knot on a Plastpro Knotty Alder door has been delicately designed to replicate the appearance of real wood. In this video, we will demonstrate how to create the beautiful sound knots on a Plastpro Knotty Alder door. After you have prepped the door for staining, wipe down the door with mineral spirits. This opens the pores of the skin, so it accepts the stain better. We will be using Plastpro's Pre-finished Stain Kit in Spanish oak. To create the knots, here are the items you will need. From the Plastpro Pre-finished Stain Kit, you will need the foam brush, a piece of cloth, and the color stain in which you are finishing your door in. Other options not included in the stain kit are an artist brush and a black or brown paint marker depending on the finish of your door. We will be demonstrating 3 different methods used to accentuate the knots. The first step is to identify the knots. Look for the cracks and swirl marks on the door. It is the very curves and bends in wood grain that makes the knots so attractive to view. It is all based on personal preference how many knots you'd like to draw attention to. The second step is to apply the stain to the door. Make sure to stir the stain using the stir stick, as settling may have occurred. For presentation purposes, we will stain a section of the door while demonstrating how to create the knots. Be sure to read the label on the stain can to find the recommended drying time. After you have stained your Plastpro Knotty Alder door to your desired preference, please allow the last layer of stain on your door to completely dry. Once the door is dry, the next step is to create the knots. We will first darken the cracks using the foam brush. Dip the foam brush gently in the stain and brush the excess off on the side of the can. Then, apply directly onto the crack. Darkening the cracks creates contrast against the finish of the door and will help the door achieve the look of real wood. To create the stain knot, use the bristle brush to create a circular shape around the crack. For a lighter color knot, wait 10 to 15 minutes and then gently wipe off any undesired excess stain with the kit's cloth. For a darker stain knot, wait for the current layer of stain to dry on the door, then dip the cloth lightly in the stain. Follow the swirl graining around the crack and apply a thin layer in circular motions. Repeat this process until you have reached your desired shade. The second method is to use an artist brush. A brush with a finer tip will allow more precise strokes. Follow the same process as using the foam brush. Dip gently in the stain, brush off the excess, and fill in the cracks. Apply more layers to darken the crack. Finally, the third method we will demonstrate is the use of paint marker pens. Paint markers are easy to use and easy to clean up. We recommend using a brown paint marker on lighter finish doors, like Early American and Spanish Oak, and a black paint marker on darker finish doors, such as Mahogany and Moorish Teak. Since we are staining the door in Spanish Oak, we will be using a brown paint marker. However, with this method, you will fill in the crack with the paint marker first and then apply the stain. Repeat the process to create the stain knots using the bristle brush and cloth. After you have created the knots to your desired preference, please allow the door to completely dry before flipping it over and working on the other side of the door. Here's the door we finished earlier. The final step is to apply top coat. Be sure to read the label on the stain can to find the recommended final drying time. Usually, it takes 24 to 48 hours after your final coat before you can apply the top coat. The top coat provides UV protection to your door and keeps your stained finish from fading. Follow the same steps used during the staining process in the master video to apply the top coat to both sides of the door, and follow the instructions on how to maintain your Plastpro Knotty Alder door. You now have a front door that is personalized and unique.